Have you ever felt the weight of holding on too tightly, clinging to someone or something as if your entire existence depended on it? The invisible chains of attachment, expectation, and fear can press so heavily on your heart that breathing feels like a conscious effort. In the quiet moments of the night, when the world sleeps, your mind plays endless scenarios. What if I lose them? What if they don't feel the same? What if I make a mistake? And yet, in all that swirling anxiety, there lies a deeper truth, a whisper from the soul, that the very act of holding on too tightly is what keeps you from experiencing freedom, peace, and even the reunion you yearn for. This is the moment before the final let go. The moment when your soul begins to remember its own voice. The final let go is not about walking away, and it is certainly not about giving up. It is about returning to the essence of your own being, freeing yourself from the shadows of expectation, fear, and mental attachment. It is about discovering that what you are truly holding on to is not the other person, but your own desire to control life, love, and outcomes. In this chapter, we will explore the layers of letting go, the layers that transform pain into liberation, fear into courage, and longing into alignment. We will walk through the paradox that releasing control often draws us closer to what our heart truly seeks. The weight of expectation. Expectations are silent prisoners. When you expect someone to act a certain way, to respond in a particular manner, or to fulfill your imagined needs, you create an invisible contract. The other person does not even need to know about it. The contract exists solely in your mind. Yet it shapes your reality. Every disappointment, every delay, every unmet desire feels like proof that the world is against you. Imagine carrying a backpack filled with bricks. Each brick represents an expectation. At first, the load may feel manageable, almost invisible. But over time, every step becomes a struggle. The more you insist on holding onto that backpack, the more your back aches, your energy wanes, and your heart grows heavy. You may not even notice how the weight distorts your perception of love, connection, and freedom. The first step toward the final let go is recognizing this load. Ask yourself, which expectations am I carrying that do not belong to me? Which outcomes am I trying to control that were never mine to begin with? Awareness is the key. Awareness begins the unraveling of the threads that bind your heart. The illusion of loss. Fear of loss is perhaps the most primal human emotion. It is hardwired into our survival instincts, but in matters of the heart, it often works against us. We imagine losing someone, and in that imagination we suffer as if the loss had already occurred. Our mind replaying scenarios creates a preemptive grief, a phantom pain that steals joy from the present. But what if loss is never truly loss? In the realm of the soul, connection is not measured by physical presence, text messages, or even conversations. The connection exists in the vibrational energy shared between two beings. Letting go does not sever this energy, it liberates it. It allows the essence of both souls to move freely, without the weight of expectation or control. Picture a river flowing through your life. Holding on to someone too tightly is like trying to dam the river with your hands. You strain, you suffer, but the water finds its way around you regardless. Release the dam and the water flows freely. Sometimes in that very flow you will find the person or experience returning naturally, not because you forced it, but because you created the space for life to unfold. Releasing mental attachments. One of the most subtle forms of holding on is mental attachment. This is when your mind refuses to let go, even if your physical self understands it must. You replay conversations, imagine future scenarios, and create endless what-ifs. These attachments are ghosts that keep your heart tethered to something that may already be free, or perhaps never truly belong to you. To release mental attachment, start by observing your thoughts without judgment. Notice when your mind drifts into fixation. Breathe and acknowledge, I see you, mind. Thank you for caring, but this is not my reality to control. With each acknowledgement, the grip loosens and the heart begins to breathe again. Ask yourself, do I want to hold on to this image of them, or do I want to feel peace in my own presence? The choice may seem small, but it is the beginning of true liberation. Returning to the essence of the soul. Letting go is ultimately about returning to yourself. Beneath all fears, expectations, and attachments, your soul remains intact, radiant, and unbound. By releasing what you cannot control, you reconnect with your own inner knowing, your own power, and your own light. This is the paradox of the final let go. When you release, you do not lose. You reclaim yourself. You remember the essence of your being. You remember that love is not a transaction, attachment is not protection, and freedom is not abandonment. Freedom is your natural state, and it is in this state that true reunion, whether energetic, spiritual, or even physical, becomes possible. The spiritual dimension of release. For those navigating twin flame or deep soul connections, the act of letting go carries an even deeper resonance. Twin flames often mirror our deepest wounds and desires. Holding on with expectation or fear strengthens the karmic patterns that keep separation alive. Letting go, paradoxically, dissolves these patterns. Energetically, when you release, you align with the higher frequency of your own soul. You are no longer chasing, you are attracting. You are no longer clinging, you are resonating. And in that resonance, the possibility of reunion, energetic or otherwise, emerges naturally without force or struggle. The practice of the final let go. So how does one practice the final let go? Begin small. Each day identify one expectation, one fear, or one mental attachment to release. Visualize it leaving your body like smoke or water, drifting into the universe. Feel the lightness that follows. Meditation, journaling, and mindful breathing are powerful tools. Even a simple acknowledgement before sleep, I release what I cannot control. I return to my essence. I trust the flow of life, can create shifts that ripple through your energy field. Remember, letting go is not a single event. It is a process, a continuous unfolding of trust, courage, and awareness. It is the art of returning home to your soul, while the world continues its dance around you. The invitation. As you read these words, feel them resonate in your own heart. Perhaps there is a person, a situation, or even a thought pattern you have been clinging to. Perhaps the weight of expectation or fear has been more than you realized. This chapter is your invitation to take a breath, to release one layer, and to feel the subtle freedom that arises. The final let go is not the end. It is the beginning of returning to yourself, embracing your soul's truth, and creating space for the universe to align with the love and connection you are truly meant to experience. Ask yourself one final question before closing your eyes tonight. Am I ready to let go, not to lose, but to become fully alive again? When the answer is yes, you have taken the first step toward the freedom that awaits beyond attachment, fear, and expectation. You have taken the first step toward reunion, not as a chase, not as a struggle, but as a natural unfolding of souls. After the first stirrings of awareness, when you recognize the weight you carry and the subtle imprisonment of attachment, a deeper journey begins. This is the journey into the core of your own heart, the territory of expectations, fear, and mental clinging. These are the layers that obscure the soul's clarity, the walls that keep the heart from experiencing true freedom, and the invisible cords that prevent reunion with the energies that matter most. In this chapter, we will explore how these forces operate, how they manifest in everyday life, and how the act of releasing them can be not only liberating but transformative. You will see that letting go is not loss, but a profound reclamation of your soul's essence. The weight of expectation. Expectation is a silent architect of suffering. It quietly dictates how we perceive reality, how we interact with others, and how we define our self-worth. When you expect someone to behave, respond, or feel a certain way, you are constructing a cage around both them and yourself. Consider a common scenario. You wait for a message, a call, or some form of validation from someone you care about. Hours turn into days. Every delay becomes a story in your mind. They don't care. They have moved on. Something is wrong with me. These stories are not reality. They are projections of your fear and desire. Expectation creates an illusion of control. You hope that by insisting or imagining, you can bend reality to your will. Yet, life has a rhythm beyond human desire. Every expectation you release is a brick removed from the walls you built around your heart. You begin to notice a subtle shift. The air feels lighter, the heart feels softer, and your energy begins to flow freely again. Ask yourself, which expectations am I holding that do not belong to me? Which outcomes am I trying to dictate that were never mine to control? Awareness is the first step toward liberation. The fear of losing. Fear of loss is perhaps the most insidious barrier to spiritual and emotional freedom. It disguises itself as care, love, or responsibility, but beneath it lies anxiety and restriction. The mind constantly rehearses scenarios of separation. What if they leave? What if something changes? What if I am not enough? Yet fear is not truth. It is imagination running rampant. True connection does not depend on clinging. It depends on presence, authenticity, and alignment of energy. Holding on out of fear often pushes the other away or creates tension in the very relationship you cherish. Imagine your heart as a garden. Fear is like a shadow that blocks sunlight. The more you let fear dominate, the more the flowers of your soul shrink, wilt, and hide. But when you release the fear of losing, you allow light to touch every corner of your being. You cultivate inner peace, and the garden of your soul flourishes. The paradox is clear. By loosening your grip, by surrendering the fear of loss, you create the conditions for deeper, more authentic connection, sometimes even reunion, with the energies you seek. Mental clinging. The invisible prison. Mental clinging is subtler than expectation or fear. It is the constant replay of memories, imagined scenarios, and what-ifs that trap your consciousness in the past or the future. It keeps your attention away from the present, where life and connection truly exist. Consider this. You keep replaying a conversation in your mind, analyzing every word, every gesture. You imagine what they might be thinking, what they might do next, and how you should respond. The mind creates a labyrinth, and your heart becomes lost in it. To release mental clinging, you must observe your thoughts as if they belong to someone else. Detach from the story, breathe deeply and say silently, I acknowledge you, mind, but this is not my reality to control. This is not denial, it is recognition without attachment. It is understanding the mind's patterns and choosing not to be trapped by them. Every moment you release a mental grip, you return to the present. You reclaim your energy, your attention, and your power. This is the space where your soul remembers its own rhythm, unburdened by illusion. The layers of letting go. Letting go is rarely a single act, it is a layered process. Each layer represents a type of attachment or resistance. 1. Expectation. Release the need for others to conform to your imagined ideals. 2. Fear of loss. Release the need to protect the outcome or prevent separation. 3. Mental clinging. Release the obsession with scenarios, memories, or imagined futures. These layers are interconnected. By peeling one away, the others become easier to address. Think of it as cleaning a mirror. Each layer of dust removed reveals more light. With every release, your reflection, the essence of your soul, becomes clearer. The practice of release. Practical steps can guide the process of letting go. 1. Awareness. Begin by observing where your mind, heart, and energy are stuck. Journaling can help identify repeated patterns of expectation, fear, or clinging. 2. Acknowledgement. Accept the presence of these feelings without judgment. Say to yourself, I see you and I honor that you have been my guide, but it is time to release you. 3. Visualization. Picture the fear, expectation, or mental attachment as a tangible object. See it dissolve, float away, or transform into light. 4. Mindful breathing. With each inhale, draw in peace and clarity. With each exhale, release the attachment. Feel your heart expanding with space and freedom. 5. Trust. Let go of the need to control timing, outcome, or others' responses. Trust the flow of life, the universe, and the alignment of souls. This is a daily practice, a gentle but persistent reminder that freedom is cultivated, not demanded. Reclaiming your own essence. Every release, no matter how small, is an act of self-reclamation. When you release expectation, fear, and mental clinging, you reconnect with your true self. You remember your own desires, your own rhythm, and your own capacity to love without attachment. Reclaiming your essence is also about aligning with your inner knowing, the quiet, undeniable voice of the soul that does not panic, does not demand, and does not chase. It is calm, luminous, and infinite. When you act from this space, your interactions, relationships, and experiences shift. You attract energy that resonates with freedom, authenticity, and love. The spiritual implication. For twin flame or soul-level connections, the layers of expectation, fear, and mental attachment often create invisible barriers. Holding on tightly strengthens karmic patterns that prolong separation. Letting go, paradoxically, dissolves these barriers. Energetically, releasing is not about losing someone. It is about elevating your vibration. When you operate from freedom and alignment, you become magnetic, not out of desire but out of resonance. Reunion becomes a natural unfolding, not a forced pursuit. It is in the space of freedom that true energetic connection thrives. An invitation to practice. As you reflect on this chapter, consider one area where you are holding on too tightly. Perhaps it is an expectation of someone's behavior, a fear of losing them, or a mental scenario you cannot stop replaying. Start small. Take one step today to release it, and notice the subtle shift in your energy. Feel the space your soul gains when the heart is unburdened. Feel the freedom that arises when you trust life, trust the universe, and trust yourself. Each release, each moment of surrender, is a step closer to alignment, clarity, and authentic reunion. Letting go is not giving up. It is not abandoning love. It is returning to your own center, to your own essence, and to your own truth. It is allowing life to flow, allowing connection to breathe, and allowing your soul to shine without obstruction. Ask yourself, am I willing to release what I cannot control, to trust what I cannot see, and to love without attachment? When the answer is yes, you are no longer held hostage by expectation, fear, or mental clinging. You have stepped into the space where the soul remembers its own freedom, and where the possibility of reunion, energetic, spiritual, or physical, emerges effortlessly. The final let go is no longer a distant dream. It is alive within you. It is the heartbeat of your liberation, the rhythm of your soul, and the gateway to authentic connection. In the journey of the final let go, one of the most delicate and profound layers is learning to release someone from your mind while maintaining the subtle, sacred connection of the soul. This is where the art of spiritual surrender becomes both challenging and transformative. It is not about detachment born from indifference, nor is it about severing the energy of a bond. Rather, it is about distinguishing between the illusion of control and the truth of connection, between clinging in thought and resonating in essence. When you release someone from your mental grasp, you step into a higher dimension of love. A love that is free, unburdened, and alive. Yet, this is also the stage where most hearts falter. The mind insists on rehearsal. What are they thinking? What should I say? How can I keep them close? The mind does not understand energy. It understands control. The soul, however, knows only resonance. The prison of mental occupancy. Imagine carrying a precious gem in a glass box. You constantly watch it, turn it over in your hands, and worry that it might slip. Every day, every hour, every thought revolves around the gem. You cannot focus on the world outside because the gem consumes your attention. In matters of the heart, the person you care about often becomes this gem. Mental occupancy. Constantly thinking about someone, replaying memories, imagining scenarios, creates a psychological and energetic prison. The mind binds your energy to a fixed image of the person. You may feel close, yet in reality, this form of attachment is a cage. You are not experiencing them as they are. You are experiencing the version your mind has crafted. Ask yourself, am I loving them, or am I loving the image my mind has built? This distinction is crucial. Loving the image is attachment. Loving the soul is liberation. The difference between physical and energetic presence. It is easy to conflate proximity with connection. Seeing someone, talking to them, or receiving messages can create a sense of closeness. But these are external, temporary expressions. The real connection exists at the level of energy, vibration, and essence. When you release someone from your mind, you stop relying on these external cues for validation or comfort. Instead, you learn to feel their presence in the quiet resonance of your heart. This is not imagination. It is subtle perception, intuition, and the recognition of shared energy. A simple practice to feel this. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and envision their energy as a soft light that exists beyond time and space. You do not need to manipulate it. You do not need to contact them. You simply acknowledge their essence, allowing your own energy to meet theirs naturally. Notice how your heart feels lighter, freer, and more expansive. The challenge of letting go without losing. Many fear that releasing someone from their mind will mean losing them forever. This is a misconception born from attachment. In truth, releasing mental grasp does not sever soul connection. It allows the bond to evolve beyond the constraints of expectation and obsession. Consider the metaphor of two musical instruments. If both are tightly bound, their notes cannot resonate freely, they clash. When you release the tightness, each instrument vibrates authentically, and the resulting harmony is far richer than anything forced. Similarly, letting go of obsessive mental focus creates the space for authentic, energetic resonance with the person or soul you care about. Ask yourself, is my attachment keeping us out of harmony? If the answer is yes, then release is not abandonment, it is alignment. Practical steps for releasing mental attachment. Releasing someone from your mind while honoring the soul connection requires practice, patience, and self-compassion. Here are some practical steps. 1. Awareness of thought patterns. Start by noticing when your mind drifts into fixation. Journaling can help. Write down the recurring thoughts and scenarios. 2. Acknowledgement without resistance. Instead of fighting the thoughts, acknowledge them. I see you, mind, but you are not reality. You are only imagination. 3. Breathing into presence. Focus on your own energy. Breathe deeply, feeling the air entering and leaving your body. Imagine the mental images gently dissolving with each exhale. 4. Visualization of energy release. Picture the person's image floating away like mist, while keeping a soft, warm light of connection between your souls. The light is not forceful. It is natural, gentle, and effortless. 5. Trust in timing. Let go of the need to control outcomes, timing, or behavior. Trust that when two souls are aligned, reunion or resonance happens effortlessly. 6. Redirect focus to self. Engage in practices that center your energy, meditation, nature walks, creative expression, or deep reflection. The more grounded you are in your own essence, the freer the soul connection becomes. Why the soul connection persists. When you release mental attachment, the soul connection often becomes stronger paradoxically. This is because energy is not about control, it is about resonance. The soul recognizes authenticity. The mind clings because it fears uncertainty. The soul flows because it knows the truth. Connection is not ownership. It is recognition, respect, and shared vibration. Many have experienced this phenomenon. After releasing obsessive thoughts about someone, they suddenly feel a sense of closeness that transcends physical presence. A simple glance, a dream, or even a sudden understanding can evoke the same deep resonance without any effort. This is the universe responding to alignment rather than control. The art of loving without clinging. Loving without clinging is a spiritual discipline. It requires humility, courage, and deep trust. It asks you to distinguish between what you desire and what your soul recognizes as true. Humility. Accept that you cannot control another's mind or actions. Courage. Step into the unknown without the crutch of obsessive thought. Trust. Believe that authentic connection does not require force. It emerges naturally from aligned energy. Ask yourself, can I love someone fully, even if they are not constantly in my thoughts? Can I honor their soul without needing to possess it in my mind? These questions guide the practice of letting go while keeping the heart open. Real-life illustration. Imagine two people on separate paths, yet their souls are intertwined. One is constantly thinking about the other, analyzing every gesture, every word. The other is silent, present in their own essence. When the first person learns to release mental obsession, their energy lightens. The second person, without any external push, feels the shift and resonates naturally. They do not come back because of force, but because the energy field between them has been cleared of fear, expectation, and mental cling. This is not coincidence. It is the law of energetic resonance. Release creates space. Space allows harmony. Harmony allows reunion in its purest form. Inner reflection exercise. Take a moment now. 1. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. 2. Bring to mind the person you feel attached to. 3. Observe your thoughts about them without judgment. 4. Visualize each thought gently floating away, leaving only a soft, luminous thread connecting your souls. 5. Feel the lightness, the freedom, and the subtle joy of authentic connection. 6. Affirm silently. I release you from my mind, yet our souls remain connected. I trust the flow of life, the universe, and our alignment. Notice how your heart feels. Notice how your energy expands. This is the essence of releasing mental attachment while embracing soul connection. Releasing someone from your mind is one of the most profound acts of love and self-liberation. It is an act that requires courage, awareness, and trust. The mind may resist, insisting that holding on is safety, but the soul knows a deeper truth. Freedom and connection are not opposites, they are partners in the dance of life. When you release mental clinging, you step into a higher vibrational state. You honor both your own essence and the essence of the person you care about. You create space for authentic interaction, spiritual resonance, and even reunion. Ask yourself one final question tonight. Am I willing to release the image, the story, and the obsession so that the soul may flow freely? When the answer is yes, you have not lost, they have not left. You have simply returned to the essence of your own being, and in that return lies the greatest gift: the freedom to love fully, deeply, and authentically. After the initial stages of awareness, releasing expectations, and letting go of mental clinging, a subtle and profound transformation begins to unfold: the deepening of soul connection. First, this may seem paradoxical. How can one release someone from the mind, relinquish control, and yet feel closer than ever? The answer lies in understanding the nature of energy, vibration, and the essence of soul-to-soul communication. True connection is not measured by proximity, conversation, or physical interaction. It is felt in the body, recognized in the heart, and resonated through energy. When the mind releases its grasp, the soul steps forward, allowing a purer form of connection to emerge, one that is free from attachment, expectation, or fear. In this chapter, we will explore how soul connection manifests after release, why it deepens, and how to cultivate and honor it consciously. The paradox of freedom and connection. The paradox of soul connection is this: the more you release, the more profound the connection becomes. In the clutches of attachment, energy becomes dense, and communication is filtered through desire, expectation, and fear. The mind seeks to manipulate outcomes, to control timing, to ensure presence. But the soul operates on a different frequency. It communicates in resonance, subtle emotion, and vibrational alignment. Imagine two tuning forks. When both are struck and held rigidly, their sound clashes, creating dissonance. When released, they vibrate freely, harmonizing naturally. In relationships and soul bonds, release is the act of loosening the rigid grip, allowing both souls to resonate authentically. The resulting harmony is deeper and more enduring than anything forced or controlled. Recognizing the subtle signs of soul connection. After you release mental and emotional attachment, you may begin to notice subtle signs that the connection persists. 1. Synchronicities and patterns. Events, symbols, or messages seem to appear when you least expect them, yet precisely when you need guidance. A song, a number, or a fleeting image may evoke the energy of the soul you share a bond with. 2. Dreams and visions. The subconscious communicates freely when the mind is quiet. Dreams may carry symbolic interactions, reminders of shared experiences, or emotional resonance that your conscious mind no longer dominates. 3. Emotional resonance. Without direct interaction, you may feel shifts in your own emotional state that mirror the other soul's energy. A wave of sadness, joy, or inspiration may come seemingly from nowhere, yet it is a subtle reflection of shared vibration. 4. Physical sensations. Some report tingling, warmth, or a sudden awareness in the heart or chest area, a sign that energy is moving and flowing between two souls. These signs are not manipulations of fate. They are echoes of authentic energetic resonance. They remind you that connection exists beyond the mind, beyond circumstance, and beyond time. The role of inner alignment. To fully experience soul connection, your own energy must be aligned. Release alone is not enough. It is the first step. Once the mental and emotional grip loosens, you must consciously nurture your own frequency through practices that cultivate clarity, presence, and love for self. 1. Mindfulness and meditation. Ground yourself in the present moment. Allow thoughts to arise and pass without clinging. In this stillness, the soul communicates most clearly. 2. Self-compassion. Treat yourself as the sacred being you are. Releasing attachment does not mean neglecting your own needs. Honor your boundaries and inner rhythms. 3. Energy practices. Visualize your energy body as radiant, expanding, and interconnected with the universe. When your vibration is high and fluid, you attract and resonate naturally with aligned energies. 4. Journaling and reflection. Write letters to your soul connection without expectation of response. This practice allows emotional expression without attachment to outcome. By aligning your inner energy, you create a fertile space where the soul connection can flourish naturally, without interference from fear or desire. The experience of two souls as one. When release and alignment are combined, a profound energetic phenomenon can occur. The experience of two as one. This is not physical merging. It is the blending of energy, consciousness, and intention. You may feel as if the boundaries between you and the other are porous, allowing understanding, empathy, and love to flow effortlessly. Imagine standing in a quiet forest, feeling the rhythm of the wind and the song of birds. You sense another presence, and though unseen, the resonance of their energy fills the space. This is the subtle beauty of soul connection after release. Presence without possession, intimacy without attachment. Ask yourself, can I feel them without needing them in my life exactly as I imagine? Can I love freely without ownership or expectation? These are the gateways to authentic soul resonance. Practical exercises to strengthen soul connection. 1. Breath synchronization. Close your eyes and focus on your breath. Imagine your inhalation and exhalation creating a wave of energy that reaches the other soul. Visualize them breathing in harmony with you. Feel the rhythmic pulse of connection. 2. Energy thread visualization. Picture a golden thread connecting your heart to theirs. This thread is flexible, luminous, and strong. It vibrates with shared emotion and awareness, but it is not rigid. It allows freedom for both souls. 3. Silent acknowledgement. Take moments throughout your day to mentally send love, gratitude, or good wishes to their energy. Do not expect a response. Trust that energy is felt beyond words. 4. Mirror reflection. In a quiet space, look into a mirror and visualize both your essence and theirs within your reflection. Recognize the union of energies and the shared light. These exercises cultivate awareness of energetic presence, deepen resonance, and remind you that connection is an energetic phenomenon, not merely a physical one. Navigating challenges. Even after release, challenges may arise. Lingering emotional attachments. Old feelings of jealousy, longing, or fear may surface. Acknowledge them without judgment and return to breath, visualization, and alignment. Temptation to reattach mentally. The mind will try to reclaim control, imagining scenarios or outcomes. Recognize this as habitual conditioning, and gently redirect attention to presence and soul awareness. Misinterpretation of signs. Not every coincidence, dream, or feeling indicates reunion. Maintain clarity. Focus on resonance and inner knowing rather than external validation. Challenges are opportunities to refine your awareness, strengthen your alignment, and deepen the subtle connection between souls. The gift of freedom. The beauty of soul connection after release lies in freedom. Neither soul is trapped by expectation, mental grasp, or fear. Both exist fully in their own right, yet remain connected at the energetic level. This freedom allows love to flourish naturally, without compromise, without pressure, and without distortion. Imagine a pair of birds flying freely in the sky. They may soar side by side or apart, yet their essence is intertwined in the wind currents, feeling each other's motion without interference. This is the essence of connection after release. Freedom and union coexisting in harmony. Reflections for daily life. To integrate the lessons of soul connection into daily life. 1. Observe your thoughts and attachments regularly. Notice when the mind wants to grasp or control. 2. Practice brief moments of energy acknowledgement throughout the day. Send light, love, or gratitude without expectation. 3. Celebrate the subtle signs, dreams, synchronicities, and emotional resonance as affirmations of energetic alignment. 4. Cultivate your own life fully, embracing experiences, relationships, and joy without dependency on another soul's actions. Through these practices, soul connection becomes a living, breathing presence in your life, supporting growth, awareness, and spiritual evolution. Releasing mental attachment does not mean losing someone. It means creating the space for both souls to flourish. True soul connection transcends time, space, and circumstance. It is felt, not controlled. It is honored, not demanded. Ask yourself one final question. Am I willing to release my grip, honor freedom, and trust that the soul connection will exist beyond my mind? When the answer is yes, you step into the luminous space where souls resonate naturally, deeply, and freely. Here, love is not a possession. It is an experience. Here, connection is not a chain, it is a dance. And here, the final let go transforms from a surrender into a sacred reunion of essence, energy, and being. After releasing expectations, fears, and mental attachments, and after experiencing the subtle resonance of soul connection, a profound truth begins to emerge. Letting go is not an ending. It is the gateway to reunion. This may seem paradoxical to the mind, which equates attachment with closeness and clinging with security. Yet the deeper layers of spiritual law reveal that true reunion arises only when the heart is free, the mind is still, and the soul is aligned with its highest vibration. In this chapter, we will explore why letting go becomes the catalyst for reunion, the energetic principles behind this process, and the practical ways to cultivate this sacred space for authentic reconnection. The energetic principle of attraction through release. Many of us assume that reunion requires effort, persuasion, or control. We try to influence timing, behavior, or emotions. Yet, the universe operates on energy and resonance, not coercion. When you cling tightly, you bind energy, creating resistance. This resistance blocks the natural flow that allows reunion to manifest. Consider energy like water. If you grip water in your hands, it escapes. If you open your hands, allowing it to flow naturally, it fills the space and follows its natural path. Similarly, when you release attachment, you allow energy to flow freely, creating conditions for alignment and reunion. The law is simple. Energy flows where attention goes, and freedom amplifies attraction. By letting go, you shift from a frequency of neediness to a frequency of freedom, which naturally draws aligned energies toward you. The role of inner transformation. Letting go is not just an external act, it is an internal transformation. The heart, mind, and soul must all move from a space of desire, expectation, and control into a space of trust, presence, and self-alignment. This inner work is the true catalyst for reunion. When the mind stops replaying scenarios, the heart stops holding fear, and the soul regains clarity, you become magnetic. Not because you chase, but because your energy resonates at the same frequency as your counterpart. This resonance allows reunion to occur effortlessly, in divine timing, rather than through struggle or force. Why reunion emerges naturally. The phenomenon of reunion is not coincidence. It is the result of energetic alignment. The moment you release your mental grip, several shifts occur. 1. Clarity of purpose. You no longer act out of fear or need. Your actions, intentions, and presence are guided by your highest self. 2. Vibrational alignment. Your energy rises, matching the frequency of the soul you wish to reconnect with. 3. Space for synchronization. By letting go, you create energetic space that allows both parties to operate authentically, free from pressure or expectation. 4. Removal of blockages. Attachment and fear act as energetic blocks. Releasing them clears the path for natural reunion. Ask yourself, am I trying to force reunion, or am I aligning with the conditions that naturally allow it to occur? The answer determines whether the reunion is authentic or forced. The sensory experience of release leading to reunion. Letting go is not an intellectual exercise, it is deeply experiential. Many describe feelings of weight lifting, a lightness in the chest, or a sense of expansiveness after releasing attachment. These physical and emotional sensations are indicators that energy is flowing freely again. Once this flow is restored, subtle shifts begin to appear. Increased synchronicities. Signs, symbols, and coincidences may start appearing more frequently, guiding the process. Heightened intuition. You may suddenly sense timing, moods, or energetic shifts in ways that feel profound. Emotional equilibrium. The heart is no longer in turmoil. You experience calmness and patience, which creates a fertile environment for reunion. This is the energetic preparation for a reconnection that is grounded, genuine, and sustainable. Practical steps to cultivate conditions for reunion. 1. Release expectations and outcomes. Stop controlling how, when, or in what form reunion should occur. The universe works beyond the limits of your imagination. 2. Focus on self-alignment. Engage in practices that elevate your vibration. Meditation, mindfulness, movement, creative expression, and self-compassion. The more aligned you are, the stronger the magnetic resonance. 3. Energy clearing and visualization. Imagine a golden light surrounding you, dissolving any attachment, fear, or tension. Visualize the soul connection as a radiant thread between you, unbroken, flexible, and luminous. 4. Affirmation of trust. Daily affirmations can reinforce alignment. Examples include: I release control and trust the divine timing of our reunion. Our souls are connected, free, and aligned in perfect harmony. I let go of fear, expectation, and attachment, creating space for love to flow. 5. Observe without attachment. Watch for subtle signs and synchronicities without grasping or overanalyzing. Let the universe reveal the path naturally. 6. Act in alignment, not need. When interactions occur, engage from a place of authenticity rather than desperation. This ensures that reunion, if it happens, is grounded in truth rather than compulsion. Real-life illustration of reunion through release. Consider two individuals, deeply connected at the soul level, yet separated physically or circumstantially. Initially, one person is consumed by fear of loss and mental attachment, trying to force communication or outcomes. The connection remains strained, fragmented, and heavy. As they embark on the process of letting go, releasing fear, expectation, and mental obsession, their energy begins to shift. They focus on personal growth, alignment, and energetic awareness. Over time, subtle signs appear: dreams, synchronicities, and gentle intuitions. Eventually, the opportunity for reunion arises, not because of manipulation, but because both energies are now in resonance. The meeting, if it occurs, is natural, authentic, and deeply aligned with their soul's path. The reunion is not just an external event. It is the natural manifestation of inner harmony and energetic truth. The emotional alchemy of letting go. Letting go transforms emotional pain into wisdom, attachment into freedom, and longing into presence. This alchemy is essential for reunion. Pain to awareness. Emotional discomfort reveals where attachment persists and where fear governs behavior. Attachment to liberation. By consciously releasing mental and emotional grip, the heart expands into openness. Longing to resonance. What was once desperate yearning transforms into subtle, joyful recognition of shared energy. This transformation allows reunion to emerge as a natural extension of alignment, rather than as a desperate attempt to regain control. The spiritual perspective. From a higher perspective, reunion is not a personal conquest. It is an energetic event. When souls are aligned, the universe orchestrates circumstances, timing, and interactions to facilitate authentic reconnection. Letting go is the signal that the heart is ready to receive, that the energy is free to flow, and that both souls are operating at their highest vibrational state. Reunion, in this sense, is not just about seeing or being with the person. It is about experiencing the energetic harmony of two souls, a resonance that transcends time, space, and physical limitations. Reflection and daily practice. To integrate the lessons of this chapter. 1. Daily letting go. Start each day by releasing control, expectation, and attachment. Affirm trust in the process. 2. Energy awareness. Regularly check your heart and mind for residual fear or obsessive thought, and consciously release them. 3. Alignment activities. Engage in practices that elevate your frequency: meditation, nature, creative expression, and self-care. 4. Observe signs. Pay attention to dreams, synchronicities, or emotional nudges without analyzing or forcing outcomes. Through consistent practice, the act of letting go becomes not just a strategy for reunion, but a lifestyle of freedom, clarity, and energetic harmony. The paradox is clear. Letting go is the key to reunion. It is through release, not grasping, that energy flows freely, hearts expand, and souls align. By relinquishing fear, expectation, and attachment, you create the perfect conditions for authentic reconnection, whether physical, emotional, or energetic. Ask yourself, am I ready to let go fully, to trust the process, and to honor both my own essence and the soul connection I cherish? When the answer is yes, you step into a luminous space where reunion is no longer forced, no longer anxious, and no longer uncertain. It becomes a natural, effortless, and sacred manifestation of aligned energy, a true reflection of the soul's freedom and the heart's capacity to love without limitation. Letting go is not the final step of release. It is the beginning of returning home. Home not as a place, person, or circumstance, but as the original essence of your own soul. After expectations fall away, after fears dissolve, and after mental attachments loosen their grip, something extraordinary emerges. You return to who you were before pain, before longing, before confusion, the pure consciousness of your soul. This is the stage where clarity arrives, intuition sharpens, and your inner world becomes profoundly still. It is where reunion, inner or outer, becomes possible because you are no longer fragmented. You are whole. In this chapter, we explore how letting go leads to this return, what the true essence truly is, and how recognizing it transforms your twin flame journey and your entire spiritual life. The soul's true essence. What lies beneath the noise? To understand why letting go reveals the soul's authentic state, we must first understand what the soul actually is beneath layers of conditioning, fear, and longing. Your soul is pure awareness, unconditional love, infinite presence, stillness beyond thought, the observer, not the experiencer, the energy beneath the emotions, the light beneath the stories. In its essence, the soul is not afraid. It does not cling. It does not chase. It does not lose. The soul simply is expansive, timeless, and connected to everything without attachment. When you are deeply attached to a person, outcome, or fear, you are operating from the mind, not the soul. Letting go dissolves the noise of the mind, and what remains is the soul's natural clarity. This is why letting go feels like returning to yourself. You are not losing someone, you are rediscovering the part of you that was never dependent on them in the first place. How letting go reveals your true self. Imagine holding a crystal in muddy water. You shake the water constantly. Your fears, your doubts, your longing. Everything keeps the water cloudy. The crystal is still there, but you cannot see it. Letting go is the process of allowing the water to settle. When you release expectations and fear, your inner world becomes quiet. Thoughts slow down. Emotional turbulence softens. And slowly the mud sinks. The water clears. The crystal becomes visible again. That crystal is your soul. The clarity that comes after letting go is not created by effort. It emerges naturally when resistance stops. It reveals your inner truth, your authentic desires, your purest intentions, your connection to the universe, your ability to feel love without attachment. The more you let go, the more of your soul becomes visible. The unveiling of authentic love. Once your soul essence resurfaces, you begin to understand love differently. Love is no longer a negotiation. It's not based on fear of losing or desire to possess. It becomes spacious, gentle, powerful, unattached, free. You realize you don't love someone because they stay. You love them because you recognize their soul, and that recognition cannot be lost. This is the stage where people often report, "I can feel them without needing them. I don't panic anymore. I finally understand what unconditional love means. It's peaceful now, not chaotic." This shift is not delusion, it is liberation. The natural emergence of inner freedom. Inner freedom is one of the greatest gifts of returning to your true essence. Before letting go, your emotional world is often dominated by fear cycles. What if they don't come back? What if they forget me? What if I lose them forever? What if this connection is not real? These questions come from the ego, not the soul. Once you return to your essence, the questions change. What brings me true peace? What does my soul need right now? How can I honor my own energy? What is the universe trying to show me? Fear is replaced by curiosity. Panic is replaced by trust. Attachment is replaced by connection. You begin living from a place of inner freedom rather than emotional survival. Aligning with your higher self. Returning to your soul essence also aligns you with your higher self, the version of you that is wise, calm, confident, intuitive, connected, unconditionally loving. This alignment is incredibly powerful because the higher self is the version of you that is already in union, energetically whole, complete, and not driven by fear. You start noticing your decisions feel smoother. You trust yourself more. You sense energy more clearly. You intuitively know when to act and when to be still. Your entire energy shifts from desperation to sovereignty. How this shift affects the twin flame dynamic. Once you reconnect with your true essence, something remarkable happens in the connection. The energetic imbalance dissolves. Twin flame dynamics thrive on energetic balance. If one person clings, the other pulls away. If one fears loss, the other feels pressure. But when you are rooted in your soul, you no longer project fear onto them. You no longer seek validation from them. You no longer energetically chase. You no longer hold expectations of how they must behave. This releases pressure from the energetic field, allowing the connection to breathe. Your counterpart will feel this. Even if you don't communicate physically, the shift in your energy will invite them to soften, open, and move toward you. Reunion often happens when one person returns to their essence, because the soul field becomes receptive, rather than forceful. Recognizing the signs that you have returned to your essence. People often ask, how do I know when I've reached this stage? Below are the signs that you are truly returning to your soul essence. 1. You feel peaceful even without answers. 2. You no longer mentally cling to timelines. 3. You feel connected without needing constant validation. 4. Your body feels lighter, calmer, more grounded. 5. You stop overanalyzing signs and synchronicities. 6. You trust your intuition effortlessly. 7. You release the version of the connection that only lived in your head. 8. You begin living from your heart instead of your fears. This return feels like coming home to yourself after a long, exhausting journey. Your essence versus your identity. Identity is who you think you are, your roles, your fears, your ego, your wounds, your expectations. Essence is who you are beyond all of that. During the twin flame journey, many become lost in identity. I'm the chaser. I'm not enough. I always lose people. I need them to feel complete. Letting go dissolves this false identity. What remains is your essence, which has nothing to do with psychological wounds and everything to do with the soul's truth. The spiritual importance of returning to essence. Returning to essence is not just beneficial, it is essential for spiritual evolution. It is the foundation for self-mastery, emotional intelligence, soul alignment, true intimacy, authentic love, energetic union. Without this return, reunion is either superficial or unsustainable. With this return, reunion becomes natural, effortless, and meaningful. Practices to deepen your return to soul essence. 1. Presence meditation. Sit in silence and observe your breath. No agenda, no goal, just presence. This reconnects you with consciousness itself. 2. Energetic clearing. Visualize releasing all cords of fear, attachment, and expectation. Let golden light fill the space around your heart. 3. Soul journaling. Write from your soul what you feel beneath your emotions. Ask yourself, what is my soul saying today? 4. Nature grounding. Walk barefoot on the earth and feel the energy rise through your body. Nature recalibrates your frequency. 5. Letting go rituals. Release symbolic items, words, or emotions that represent attachment. Create space for new energy. These practices accelerate the return to your essence. The beautiful paradox. When you come home to your soul, something miraculous happens. You realize that the reunion you were seeking was not with them. It was with yourself. Once that inner reunion is complete, outer reunion becomes possible, but no longer necessary. You want it, but you do not depend on it. You welcome it, but you do not cling to it. You align with it, but you do not chase it. And this is precisely the vibration that attracts true union. Letting go is the doorway. Returning to your soul essence is the homecoming. This stage is where you stop living from fear and start living from truth. You rediscover your authentic voice, your intuitive guidance, your inner harmony. You realize that the soul does not love with desperation. It loves with freedom. It does not attach, it embraces. It does not chase, it radiates. It does not fear separation because it knows connection is eternal. As you return to your true essence, you become whole. And from that wholeness, reunion, inner or outer, unfolds in the most natural, beautiful way. There are moments in a spiritual journey when the world feels strangely quiet. Not peaceful, but expectant. as if everything around you is holding its breath, waiting for you to finally understand something you've been running from your whole life. For Elara, that moment came in the middle of an ordinary morning. The sun had barely risen. The sky was still a watercolor wash of lavender and pale gold. Dew clung to the grass like tiny crystals, and the air was cool enough to sting slightly when she inhaled. She stood barefoot on the balcony, arms wrapped around her body, as if trying to hold herself together after the night before. Kai's words, his energy, his sudden burst of fear, everything had left her shaken. But somewhere underneath the tremble, underneath the confusion, underneath the ache, something else was beginning to burn. A recognition. A truth she had refused to name. A truth the universe had been whispering to her again and again. And today it would no longer whisper. It would speak. The universe reflects what you refuse to see. All her life, Elara believed that spiritual signs were gentle things. Angel numbers, songs appearing at the right moment, déjà vu, synchronicities that felt like cosmic winks. She loved those signs. They made her feel guided, protected, chosen. But now she was encountering a different kind of sign. One that didn't comfort. One that forced her to confront herself. The universe wasn't giving her guidance today. It was giving her a mirror. She could feel it before she fully understood it. Every emotion inside her, her fear of abandonment, her longing, her hope, her craving for connection, her hesitation, was suddenly magnified, as if the world around her had become one giant amplifier of her inner world. The gentle breeze brushing her skin felt like a reminder of all the things she couldn't hold on to. The vastness of the sky mirrored how small and exposed she felt. Even the quietness around her echoed her deepest fear. What if I end up alone again? But it wasn't just fear. Something else was mirrored back at her, something she hadn't let herself acknowledge. She wasn't just afraid of losing Kai. She was afraid of letting herself be fully seen. By him. By the universe. By herself. And suddenly she realized. Kai's fear was her fear. Kai's running was her running. Kai's confusion was the reflection of her own buried chaos. Twin flame journeys aren't about two souls learning each other. They are about two souls learning themselves through each other. And the universe, in its infinite precision, had arranged everything perfectly so she could see the truth she avoided. Your counterpart is not hurting you. They are mirroring the places within you that still hurt. Elara sank into the balcony chair, breath shaky, heart pounding. For the first time, she wasn't afraid of the mirror. She was ready to look. The echo of old wounds. As the morning light grew brighter, so did her memories. Images flashed in her mind like scenes from a movie she didn't want to watch. Her childhood. Her first heartbreak. The betrayals. The time she begged for love she never received. The people she had overgiven to, hoping they would stay. The moment she abandoned herself just to feel wanted. These memories didn't arise to torment her. They arose because the universe wanted her to see the connection. Kai wasn't triggering her wounds. He was revealing them. Every time he withdrew, it echoed all the times she wasn't chosen. Every time he hesitated, it echoed the people who never gave her certainty. Every time he became overwhelmed, it echoed the moments she carried the emotional weight alone. But for the first time in her life, she didn't feel like a victim to her past. Instead, she felt like the universe had handed her a key. And the key came with a message. You cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. Look at the pain. It wants to become wisdom. Elara pressed her palms against her eyes as hot tears spilled out, not from heartbreak but from realization. She had spent so long waiting for love to prove she was worthy, that she never questioned whether she believed she was worthy to begin with. Her worth had never been the problem. Her belief in her worth had been. And maybe, just maybe, that was why the universe brought Kai to her precisely now. Not to complete her. Not to save her. Not to fix her life. But to show her who she really was beneath all the fear. Someone strong. Someone intuitive. Someone deeply spiritual. Someone beautifully flawed and profoundly resilient. Someone capable of loving without abandoning herself. Someone who was ready to grow. The universe doesn't take sides. It reveals truth. Elara opened her journal, the one she kept only for her spiritual realizations, her messages from the universe. Today, the page seemed to fill by itself, as if her hand was guided by something beyond her. She wrote, "Kai isn't running from me. He's running from the parts of himself he isn't ready to face. And those are the same parts of me that I've been afraid to face." The universe sent him not as a promise but as a mirror. Not to reassure me but to awaken me. The moment she finished writing, something inside her shifted. A click. A settling. A grounding. The fear loosened its grip. The chaos softened. The loneliness dissolved. Because she finally understood. She and Kai were not enemies in this journey. They were partners in a cosmic dance, one of growth, pain, reflection, and awakening. The universe wasn't punishing her. It was preparing her. And Kai wasn't the source of her wounds. He was the one illuminating where the healing needed to begin. A new kind of strength. Alara closed her journal and placed her hand over her heart. Her heartbeat felt strong, steady, intentional. For the first time, she sensed a new kind of power rising within her. Not the power of control or certainty, but the power of awareness. The kind of power born from truth. She whispered to herself, "I am not afraid of the mirror anymore." It wasn't just a sentence. It was a declaration. Of courage. Of maturity. Of readiness. Because once you see yourself clearly, you stop reacting and start responding. You stop chasing and start aligning. You stop fearing the journey and start trusting it. The universe, it seemed, had been waiting for her to reach this point. She didn't know what would happen with Kai next. She didn't know how the story would unfold. She didn't know if the connection would deepen or pull apart before coming back together. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty. Whatever happened next, she would meet it with clarity, not fear. Because the universe had shown her the truth. Your twin flame does not break you. They break open the parts of you that were never meant to stay closed. And now that she had seen her own reflection clearly, she was finally ready for the next step. The universe had tested her. Now it was about to guide her. The mirror had spoken. And she had listened. There are connections we walk away from easily. Relationships that fade like ink in the rain. People whose absence barely stirs the surface of our lives. And then there are connections like this one. The ones that continue breathing inside you long after you've stepped away. The ones that follow you into your dreams. The ones that feel less like a meeting and more like a remembering. Kai had tried to run. But he could not outrun the tether. Not this one. Not her. The weight of distance. Kai didn't sleep the night after he left Alara's apartment. He paced his living room until dawn broke, his breath shallow, his mind burning with questions he couldn't articulate. Everything he felt was too big, too overwhelming to fit neatly into logic or words. It wasn't that Alara had done anything wrong. It wasn't that he didn't want her. It wasn't even that he didn't trust her. It was that he didn't trust himself. Being near her stirred something ancient. Something he wasn't prepared to confront. A recognition that bypassed reason. A chemistry that wasn't merely physical. A familiarity that felt impossible. And yet here he was, standing in his kitchen at 3:47 a.m., gripping the edge of the counter as if the ground beneath him might give way. Every cell in his body felt both drawn to her and terrified of her. Not terrified of her presence, terrified of what her presence awakened. A longing for closeness he had suppressed for years. A vulnerability he had sworn he'd never feel again. A depth of emotion he didn't believe he was capable of. He wanted her. He feared losing her. But more than anything, he feared he wasn't enough for her. And so he created distance. A distance that felt like protection on the surface, but like suffocation underneath. The pull that refuses to break. As sunrise painted the sky gold, Kai sat on the floor, leaning against the wall, rubbing his temples. He expected that distance from Alara would give him relief. But instead he felt the opposite. The farther he tried to push her away, the more his soul pulled him back toward her, like gravity, like magnetism, like a force older than both of them. It wasn't obsession. It wasn't attachment. It wasn't idealization. It was resonance. A frequency that matched his so precisely it terrified him. He closed his eyes and suddenly felt her presence, not physically but energetically. He felt the warmth of her emotions, the softness of her empathy, the ache she carried yet refused to show. And then he felt something else. Her clarity. Some shift had happened within her. He didn't know what, but he felt it like a ripple in his chest. She wasn't afraid anymore. She wasn't chasing. She wasn't pulling. She was simply there, steady, grounded, open. That terrified him even more. Because a woman who doesn't need you to choose her is a woman you cannot hide from. A runner's real fear. Kai stood and walked to the bathroom. He stared at his reflection for a long moment. He expected to see confusion, shame, anger, but what he saw instead was rawness. And beneath the rawness, truth. His fear had never been about Alara. His fear had always been about him. About the parts of himself he had buried so deeply, he forgot they existed. About the scars he pretended were healed. About the walls he built so high he didn't know how to climb down anymore. Loving Alara, fully, transparently, vulnerably, would require him to dismantle those walls brick by brick. And the thought of that made him tremble. He wasn't afraid she would hurt him. He was afraid she would see him. See the brokenness he tried to hide. See the shadows behind his silence. See the fears behind his strength. See the boy inside the man who still didn't believe he deserved love this deep. The universe wasn't pulling him toward Alara because she was perfect. It was pulling him toward her because she reflected his truth. And truth, real truth, terrifies runners. Signs that follow. Kai headed outside to clear his mind. He walked aimlessly, hands shoved in his pockets, the cool morning air brushing against his skin like a reminder he wasn't dreaming. He kept trying to think of something else. Anything else. But the universe had other plans. It started small. A white feather drifting down in front of him as if dropped on purpose. He frowned. Coincidence. Then his phone buzzed. An email from a company with Alara's birthday number in the subject line. He shook his head. Weird. Minutes later, he passed a street musician playing the exact melody Alara had once hummed absent-mindedly while cooking. Kai stopped in his tracks, a sharp inhale cutting through him. It felt like the universe was tapping him on the shoulder again and again, whispering, "Stop running." He turned to keep walking, but then he saw it. A mural on the side of a cafe. A painting of two figures made of stardust, their bodies intertwined not physically, but through radiant streams of energy connecting them at the heart. He froze. The caption beneath it read, "Some souls meet before their bodies ever do." A chill ran through him. This wasn't coincidence. This was alignment. This was a message. The universe had stopped hinting. It was now speaking loudly. The breakdown before the breakthrough. Kai sat on a bench across from the mural, elbows resting on his knees. His chest felt tight, but not in a painful way. More like something inside him was expanding too quickly for him to contain. He ran a hand through his hair as his eyes stung. He wasn't a man who cried easily. Years of shutting down emotionally had made tears rare. But today felt different. The pull toward Alara was no longer a whisper. It was a storm gathering inside him, and resisting it felt like resisting breath. He lowered his head as his throat tightened. He realized he didn't just feel drawn to her. He needed her. Not in a dependent way. Not as a crutch. Not as validation. But because something in her energy awakened who he truly was. She made him remember the parts of himself he had forgotten. She made him feel seen in a way that terrified him precisely because it felt so true. She made him feel alive. And that aliveness was something he had been afraid to claim for years. A tear slipped down his cheek. He didn't wipe it away. Surrender begins with knowing. Kai took a deep breath, letting the truth settle in his chest. He wasn't ready to run back to her, but he was no longer willing to run from himself. The universe had shown him the truth. Distance wouldn't break the connection. Silence wouldn't dissolve it. Fear wouldn't erase it. This wasn't infatuation. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't timing. This was destiny in motion. The kind that doesn't demand but insists. The kind that doesn't chase but calls. He stood from the bench steadier now. His fear hadn't disappeared, but something stronger had risen beside it. Curiosity, hope, courage. He wasn't ready to return to Alara yet, but he was ready to stop running. For a runner, that was the first sign of surrender. And surrender is always the beginning of reunion. There are moments in life when words fail, when gestures seem too small, and even the most elaborate plans feel unnecessary. These are the moments when souls speak in ways the mind cannot grasp, when energy communicates more clearly than conversation ever could. Elara felt it the morning she stepped into the quiet garden behind her apartment. The air was saturated with the scent of jasmine and wet earth after last night's rain. The petals clung to each other, sparkling with droplets, as if the world itself were holding its breath. She wasn't expecting him. She hadn't planned for him to appear. And yet, something inside her knew that today, things would shift. The energy before the meeting. Elara had spent weeks practicing detachment. Weeks observing herself. The longing, the hope, the anxiety. Weeks learning to witness without needing, to love without grasping, to hold without clinging. She had journaled about the soul's essence, meditated in stillness, and felt the silent hum of her own energy. And now that stillness had become a magnet. Not a magnet of desperation. Not a magnet of expectation. But a magnet of presence. Her energy, refined and anchored, sent ripples into the universe. And Kai felt them. Miles away he paused mid-step, chest tightening, breath shallow. Something familiar but different called him, pulling him toward a force he could neither resist nor fully comprehend. He didn't know if it was intuition, fate, or something older than time itself. He only knew he had to go. The quiet before the encounter. The garden was nearly empty. A few birds hopped among the shrubs, chirping faintly as the first light of dawn spilled across the soil. Elara walked along the cobblestone path, fingers brushing against the damp leaves. Each step grounded her further into her own presence. She felt alive in a way that was separate from Kai, separate from attachment, separate from expectation. And then she sensed him. Not through sight, not through sound, not through the usual signals of recognition, but through energy. A familiar vibration resonated in her chest. A pull in her heart, subtle yet undeniable. She didn't look up immediately. She didn't rush. She simply breathed. And then quietly he was there. No words needed. Kai stopped a few feet away, almost frozen. He felt like the universe had bent time and space just to bring them here. For a moment, neither of them spoke. There was no need. The air between them hummed with recognition. 1,000 shared moments, past and present, unspoken, unmanifested, passed between them. It wasn't a conversation. It was communion. Kai felt the weight of his running, the fear he had carried, the walls he had built, all dissolving in her presence. Elara felt the shadow of her longing, the ache of desire, the courage of detachment, all softening as she recognized his struggle, mirrored by her own past. They breathed together without moving. They looked at each other without expectation. They existed in the space between thought and feeling, in the silent alignment of two souls who had remembered. The language of the soul. Elara felt warmth radiate from her chest outward. It wasn't romantic in the way she had once imagined. It wasn't longing or need. It was recognition, pure and simple. Kai felt it too. His energy softened, opened. The fear of being vulnerable, the fear of seeing himself through her eyes, didn't vanish, but it no longer dictated his actions. And in that silence, something extraordinary happened. They began to communicate without words. He didn't say, "I'm sorry." She didn't say, "I forgive you." No explanations, no confessions, no reasoning. Instead, they shared presence. Kai's energy trembled slightly, acknowledging both his fear and his awakening. Elara's heart expanded, embracing both the distance and the closeness that had defined their journey. It was a silent reunion, a meeting of souls beyond the mind, a connection that existed independently of circumstance. The power of stillness. This reunion was not about physical proximity or emotional dependency. It was about energetic alignment. Elara realized that she didn't need to hold on to him. She didn't need to manipulate the timeline, chase certainty, or demand signs. All she needed was stillness. And Kai realized he didn't need to fix, explain, or prove himself. All he needed was presence. Together, stillness and presence became the language of the moment. The garden didn't need to echo with laughter or conversation. The universe didn't need to intervene with cosmic coincidences. They had already arrived. A shift in perception. For Kai, everything changed in that moment. The past, the running, the fear, the avoidance no longer defined him. He could feel the walls inside him crumble, brick by brick, replaced by a quiet strength. Strength not of control, not of domination, not of power over another, but the power to show up fully. For Elara, the clarity she had cultivated became luminous. She saw Kai not as a solution to her longing, but as a reflection of the energy she had cultivated within herself. He was no longer someone to chase. He was someone to recognize, a mirror of growth and awakening. And that recognition, the acceptance of what is not what could have been, was the true gift of reunion. The universe watches always. The moment stretched like a heartbeat. Kai's gaze softened. Elara's energy radiated calm. And though no words passed between them, the universe seemed to sigh. It had been waiting for this. It had orchestrated the tension, the separation, the challenges, not as punishment or cruelty, but as preparation. Preparation for the moment when the souls would align without effort. Preparation for the moment when presence itself became the message. And now that moment had arrived. Reunion without possession. Kai finally took a careful step closer, feeling the energy between them shift as if acknowledging a sacred boundary. Elara lifted her chin slightly, inviting recognition, not need. They smiled, not in the playful, teasing way lovers do, not in the romantic, possessive way movies depict. They smiled in a way that said, "We see each other. We honor each other. We remember each other." The reunion was complete. Not because of promises, not because of words, not because of circumstance, but because their souls were aligned. The truth of connection had nothing to do with proximity and everything to do with truth and presence. The lesson of the silent reunion. Elara and Kai's silent reunion taught them both a lesson. Attachment dissolves when the soul remembers. Fear fades when presence strengthens. Connection deepens when expectation releases. Love transcends need when alignment happens. They understood that reunion was not about capturing each other. It was about being whole enough to meet each other fully, energetically and spiritually. And the quiet garden bore witness to it all. The wind, the earth, the dew, and the rising sun were all part of the moment. The universe watched, and for the first time Elara and Kai felt like they had truly arrived. Together, yet independent, aligned yet free. Not all reunions are loud. Not all healing requires explanations. Not all love needs to be proven. Sometimes the deepest connections happen in silence, in presence, in the recognition that souls remember what the mind forgets. Elara and Kai's silent reunion was not the end of their journey. It was a threshold of alignment, of awareness, of presence, of energy. It was a reminder. You do not need to chase what is already yours. You only need to return to presence. You only need to let the soul remember. And in that remembering, all fear, all longing, all separation dissolves. Only connection remains. Silent, whole, true. There is a moment in every soul's journey when holding on no longer serves you. It is not the moment of abandonment, nor the moment of loss. It is the moment of truth, when you realize that letting go is not leaving, but returning to the essence of who you truly are. Elara had arrived at that moment. The weight of expectations. For weeks, she had carried a heavy burden. The expectations of connection, of timing, of reciprocity, each one a subtle chain around her heart. Even though she and Kai had experienced a silent reunion, her mind, like a persistent shadow, whispered doubts. What if he leaves again? What if I'm still too attached? What if I lose myself in the process of loving him? She realized that attachment was not just a longing for him. It was a longing for certainty, for control, for the illusion that she could shape destiny with her own hands. Elara closed her eyes, taking a deep, conscious breath. The garden around her, soaked in morning dew, seemed to hold its own rhythm, slow, steady, unwavering. She breathed in sync with the earth, and slowly a realization dawned. Letting go does not mean leaving him. Letting go does not mean giving up. Letting go is choosing your own soul first. The courage to release. Kai, miles away, felt a similar stirring within him. After the silent reunion, his fear had begun to surface. He feared his vulnerability, the depth of emotion he could no longer deny, and the inevitability of facing his own wounds. Yet something inside him shifted. The recognition that holding on, chasing, or controlling would not lead to union. The universe was not asking him to conquer. It was asking him to trust. Trust in the timing. Trust in the energy. Trust in the soul. Both of them understood, without needing words, that true connection begins with release. Elara whispered to herself, a vow and a prayer intertwined. I release the fear. I release the need. I release expectation. I honor my soul and yours. Kai, silently in his own space, mirrored the sentiment. I let go of control. I let go of running. I let go of the story I thought had to happen. I am here and I am ready. The final let go was not a surrender to separation. It was a surrender to alignment. The paradox of holding and releasing. Elara felt the paradox deeply. She could hold Kai in her heart without clinging. She could honor the connection without suffocating it. She could love without possession. It was a lesson the universe had been teaching her all along. That attachment is not love, and love is not attachment. Kai felt it too. He realized that the bond he shared with Elara was not a possession to be claimed, nor a problem to be solved. It was an energetic resonance. A truth that existed beyond circumstance, beyond touch, beyond time. And in this paradox they found freedom. Signs of alignment. The universe, always precise, began to show its guidance. For Elara, the signs came as gentle nudges. Light shifts in energy, moments of synchronicity, messages in music, colors, and numbers that appeared without explanation. She noticed a feather drifting down from above, landing at her feet. A silent symbol of trust. A familiar melody played from a passing car. One Kai had once hummed in her presence, and her chest lifted in recognition. Kai experienced his own signs. A sudden gust of wind carried the scent of jasmine, like her presence surrounding him. A stray note in his inbox bore a phrase they had once shared in laughter. We are bigger than fear. Both felt the same truth rising within them. The universe was confirming the alignment. Not through forcing them together, but by showing them that the connection could never truly break. The energy of letting go. Elara closed her eyes, sensing the energy between herself and Kai. She could feel it like a current running through her chest, a warmth spreading through her being. The tension, the fear, the longing. All of it dissolved into light. Letting go was not the absence of feeling. It was the mastery of feeling. It was holding space for the connection to exist without trying to manipulate it. Kai mirrored this. He did not seek her physically. He did not demand explanations. He simply aligned with the truth of their bond, feeling it in his energy before words or actions could manifest. And in that energy, the final let go became the ultimate reunion, the moment of integration. The universe had been orchestrating this dance for lifetimes. Every separation, every fear, every run and return, had led them to this threshold. Elara felt herself expand into the fullness of her soul, integrating lessons from every challenge. The lesson of patience, trusting timing instead of rushing. The lesson of boundaries, honoring herself without rejecting connection. The lesson of vulnerability, showing her truth without fear of abandonment. The lesson of surrender, allowing the energy of love to flow without control. Kai integrated the mirror she reflected back. The lesson of courage, facing his fear instead of running. The lesson of self-acceptance, embracing his brokenness as part of wholeness. The lesson of presence, knowing that energy speaks louder than words. The lesson of trust, believing in the divine orchestration of union. Together, even apart, they were whole. Together, even apart, they were aligned. Together, even apart, they were ready. The reunion beyond form. The first time Elara and Kai truly connected after the final let go. It wasn't in a dramatic embrace or a cinematic confession. It was subtle. A shared glance across a crowded room, where their eyes met and recognition sparked. A soft smile, knowing and gentle, acknowledging that everything had led to this exact resonance. A silent understanding that union was no longer conditional, no longer anxious, no longer dependent on circumstance. It was a reunion of energy, soul, and presence. A connection that could not be broken, diminished, or altered. They did not need to speak. They did not need to touch. They simply existed in the alignment of their souls. And the universe bowed to the perfection of it. The lesson of the final let go. Elara whispered into the wind, almost for herself. Letting go is not leaving. Letting go is returning to yourself. Letting go is the path to reunion. Kai, sensing her energy across the distance, felt the truth of it echo in his chest. The final let go was not about separation. It was about liberation. Liberation of the soul. Liberation of the bond. Liberation of love itself. And in this liberation, the reunion was not an event, it was a state of being. A new beginning. The final let go was also a beginning. Elara and Kai had discovered that love was not a chain. It was not a possession. It was a mirror, a resonance, a dance of energy across space and time. They had learned that the most profound connections do not demand attachment. They do not require fear, need, or expectation. They require presence. They require trust. They require the courage to release and embrace at the same time. And in this sacred space, a new journey began, not of chasing or fixing, but of existing as aligned souls, free yet connected, radiant yet grounded, whole yet ever evolving. The final let go teaches us that sometimes, the greatest love is not in holding tighter, but in trusting deeper. It is in allowing life to orchestrate the steps of reunion, in letting energy lead, and in honoring the soul's journey above all else. When you release fear, expectation, and attachment, you discover that love, true, eternal, soul-deep love, is always waiting. It does not demand. It does not plead. Simply exists. And in letting go, you return to your true essence, where union is not about being with someone else, but about being fully yourself, ready to meet your twin flame in alignment, presence, and soul resonance. Remember, let go, trust, align, and watch how the universe brings you home.